virtual classroom. And with that, I am going to take over. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. Becky or Stacy will interrupt me if they need to, but I'm going to start to present now. Maybe. Okay. All righty. So like I said, this is part 1 of cultivating collaboration in a virtual classroom, and we're going to look at what is collaboration. And as you can see in the top right corner, we are going to focus on Google Docs as the tool that we're going to collaborate with. So my goal, our learning goals for tonight, are to just give you some ideas to think about collaboration, what collaboration means to you, and then to introduce you to some ways that Google Docs fits into that, and to show you some cool tools within Google Docs that makes collaboration a little bit more accessible and safer in the classroom. So with that, I want to ask what collaboration means to you. And I'm actually going to pop a doc into our chat, maybe, if my computer lets me. There we go. And I'd like you all to go on that document and just tell me in one word what the collaboration means to you. Because we can't talk about collaboration, right, unless we model and do collaboration. So while you guys are doing that, while you're looking and you're on that document, and I will put it up, but I'm not going to put it up yet. I want to give you a chance to get in there and think about it, and just try to do it in a word. Try to give us one word for what that could looks like for you and your students. The definition, if we look up collaboration for education, and then we take the main points, is getting individuals who may or may not have similar interests to work together in an organized effort to satisfy the appropriate group end. So it's individuals together at a group end. And the thing that I like about this definition is that for our students, they may or may not have the same interests, right? They may be doing a project and want to do it in totally different ways. And it's so important for us to put them together in those positions where they have to navigate that. They have to navigate what that looks like. So I'm going to clip over here to our Google Doc and just see how we're doing. And I'm going to take, actually, everything that we've put there, and I'm just going to highlight this by using my old favorite thing in the world, is to plop in a word cloud whenever you can by just taking it in there. And I have the extension on my Google Chrome. Of course, it's not letting me do it, but I have the extension on my Google Chrome. Let me go. There we go. No. All right. Well, why my awesome doesn't let me do it. Let's see. There we go. One more time.
So there is a question while you're doing that. Is that
perfect.
An extension or an add-on?
So this is an extension. And you can plug in. So there is what we had when I took it. There might be more things that came up, but what it looks like, exactly, the most common was the together working, or working together, professional teamwork, shared support, and growth. So that's a fun way that you can get your kids. Oh, I missed synergy and together down there. I could plop in another one. But that is our definition of what we think collaboration is. And teamwork is the best, I think, definition. But now let's think about something else. I want you to just think about, like, what skills do you need to do that? So what skills does a student need to be collaborative, to learn and work together? What do they need to have? So if you could plop that in the chat, just your ideas on what you think it means for a student, or what skills do we need to give them to be successful in that? And what skills do we have to have also? Because today we're thinking about collaborating with our students, but when we think about collaborating in education, there's also collaborating with teachers collaborating together, and teachers collaborating with parents and with admin. So there's lots of steps layered in to who we want to collaborate with, but we are going to focus just on students. So Becky, if you want to just tell me what skills people are mentioning in the chat.
Yeah, definitely. There's scaffolding, listening, resilience. They need to be team players. They need to know how to communicate. Students need to be given voice. There needs to be flexibility and patience. There needs to be knowledge of the platform they're using to collaborate on. That's a really big one.
That is a really big one. That truly is a really big one, because that is something that stops our students, right? And I'm going to just go out, because one of the things I want to look at on this form that I shared with you for our one word is that I told you, like, verbally, right, what we were going to do, but I also wrote it here, and I used columns. And I highly recommend with students always using a table where there's one place for their name and one place for what you want them to do, so that it's clear cut and they understand where to put it. Because you will have students trying to type in someone else's boxes. That might have happened to you. You might have started in one column and then somebody else took over and you had to move. So that is one way, and we can kind of preload that for students, like what that looks like. You know, if there's a cursor there, you go to the next one. But setting it up in columns like that kind of gives them a place where they know they have to be, and they know that's their space, and they know what's expected. So that's one way to help them with that piece. Let's look at some ways why it's important. So we talked about problem solving, right? We talked about that it brings us together. So it brings students together in a new way. And that's why right now with our virtual world that we're in, it's so important that we give students as many ways as possible for them to get together, because they're getting to know each other virtually through these collaboration opportunities, these opportunities that we give them. So they're going to learn from each other. And they're also going to need the tools to listen to each other too, which is really important. And it opens up that piece of communication for students, which is to build tolerance with each other and to stay connected. So another piece of our virtual world is just that trying to build a connected community and giving students as many opportunities as we can to have a place where they can come and they can talk and they can be together. Efficient. So why is it important? Efficient. This is interesting to me when I was looking up this, and it came up with efficient, but it does make you efficient if you have to express your feelings or thoughts on a topic to somebody else. It really helps you communicate that in a shorter amount of time, or to rephrase what you were trying to say. So it makes you more efficient at your work, because you're getting used to being able to give other people a glimpse of what you're feeling or thinking. And it boosts morale. It makes kids feel good, right? It makes us feel good. If you collaborate with somebody and they're like, oh my God, that's such a great idea. Or you get together and together you come up with this fabulous idea, like to start, you know, like a SoCal GEG group. And all of a sudden here we are. That really boosts your morale and you feel great because you all did that together. So those are some really great ways. Here's another little thing we're going to do together. I got to pop out. Give me 1 second. That's I wanted to use animation in my slide and that made it difficult. I should have given these to Becky. Live and learn next time.
No worries at all.
Okay, popping it back in here. You're going to have another little collaboration. One of my favorite things to do and collaborate. And this is a great thing for the beginning of the year. This one is let's write a story together. You can have them write a story about, you know, what they've been doing over the summer. It's not our usual, how'd you spend your summer break, but it's still, what did they do over the summer? What did they look at? How are they handling things? Just checking in. So again, on my collaborative story page, it tells you, and it gives you kind of like directions of like, let's see if you can work with your peers and create a group story, follow the steps. So I give them, be sure to add. I have my 3 columns because that's what they're going to add, 3 things. Each thing gets put in a column. I'm going to talk about my class norms, right? Because I always want to remind students we are in a virtual world all the time. Be respectful. Don't write over somebody's work. Add 1 line, edit your own work, and be courageous. You know, don't wait for somebody else to put the line in. Go ahead, and what you write is going to, you know, be fine. We are sometimes embarrassed, right? Like, oh my God, mine's not going to be clever enough. That would be me. That would be totally me in a classroom. So while you guys are doing this, just some tools inside Google Docs that help support students collaborating are, if you're popping in pictures, or if you don't know how, you can do that here through tools. We have this awesome Explore tool that will open up so that you can come and you can search whatever you want. I'll say flowers. It seems to be the thing I always search when I need to search something. I'm having a lag. And then you can pop that right in by hitting the plus or highlighting it. And then an insert will come up at the bottom, and you can use that as well. So that's one thing that you have. The other great tools that make Google Docs a place to explore with your students. Oh my goodness, oh, it's still trying to do that. I'm having a laggy computer, I apologize. Are these things. So I have my version history, right? So I can come in here and I can look at the version history and I can see who's doing what when. So while we're training our students, and I use the word training because it is training them how to behave in a virtual world. It's training them to know that their behavior can still be seen even though I'm not in the room with you, right? So we can show them and do these activities together as whole groups. And I suggest, like, when you start to collaborate with your students, to do it like we are, through a Meet where everybody's up here. So you are watching what other people are typing. It certainly does cut down, I think, on students who might want to do something else and be a little naughty, right? And maybe be silly. I should say silly. But here I can come in and I can see who it is. If my students, like, you guys are anonymous users to me, but my students would not be. My students would be within our domain, and I would be able to see my students' names up here because they would have been logged in with their district email. And you would be able to see who's working on there, all anonymous workers, but it would show me.
Karen, I love how you're sharing this because my district, well, obviously the whole state of California is required to take attendance every day and interact with every kid every day. But our district is also very much supporting the child, and we are supposed to be, we're being directed to be very gentle with them and to not overburden them with work because this is all new to them. And so something as casual as them interacting with us on a Google Doc, that would count. And so this is wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great way to hold them accountable. And this can be fun. You know, you can be doing this and you can still be moving and talking about it like we are. And you can have the kids just in this, because it will take some time to do stories like that before you want to dive into the next thing that I'm going to show you as far as collaborating. Sorry, my brain went totally dead. That's always awesome there. You can also be in here, right? So you can come in here and you can be leaving a comment for your students as they're going along. You can let it be so your students can comment on each other, but you can say, this is a great addition. You can ask them to add more at the end. You know, there's a lot of different tools that you have within here to keep this in a safe place where you can see your students' names if they were logged in, but that they're still working together and you're still able to see them. Now, if I had my students up, right, I'd probably be more of a split screen so I could see little faces on one side and them on the other. That is the tricky challenge for all of us as we try to teach in this way, but that is one way that you can do it.
Karen, before we move on out of this, so I'm loving this story piece and how students can build on a story and kind of get to know each other. And like you said, you're training them not only on the story aspect, but how to use the tools. So one thing I noticed just while watching, that there were some disconnects in our story where we would be hopping around a little bit from one thought to the next. So one thing that I would look at if I was doing this with my students, because I imagine that's going to happen, they've got an idea, it's going to come out whether it flows or not, is showing how to insert another row. And then that could be one student, like a comment, one student could go in, could you find a way to connect? So for example, we've got, we saw something amazing. There's a picture of an elephant, but our story has nothing to do with an elephant. So I would start there. We probably need a new picture. And then
Exactly.
we get into a peacock and it's coming at me. So I'm guessing we went into the car because now he's pecking at my car door. He realized that was his reflection, not a future mate. He needs to clear his head. And then we jumped into global GEG.
Right.
So maybe someone needs a connection where we add another.
We add some lines in, right?
Add
If
a
you want to
line
add,
in. Yeah, and then it could even be, then I woke up and realized I was dreaming.
right, that you
That I
could
was
go
in a
down to the end.
GEG meeting. Yeah. So I love that we're training and we're not going to look at this as a way of a got you or, oh, you didn't follow the rules, but how can we build and actually support each other through a collaborative effort.
Exactly. And you can put that on the students as well. Like Becky was saying, I can ask you to take a look now. Does it flow? If it doesn't flow, where do you think we need to put in a space? Where should we add that column? That is another way that you can get your students to start to take ownership. They might know, they might not. And they also have the ability to come in and be asking questions in your chat or unmuting themselves to ask. And they can go in, if you have it set where they can ask comments, they could do that there as well. And they could find out how to do something. So that is
I
our
love
awesome
it too, Karen. This gives me all the feels from, remember Mad Libs when we were little?
Oh, yes.
Becky, you're so much younger than me, but did they do Mad Libs when you were little? Okay, good. Because it's
Those
like
are still around.
yeah, no, but I mean, we didn't even have, there were no phones in our rooms when I was little. So Mad Libs were the bomb, you know?
I love Mad Libs. They are fun. And it is a lot like that, definitely. And you could do a Mad Lib. You could totally do this like that as a collaborative Mad Lib, where you could even have like a word bank that students need to use, or they have to use their vocabulary and they have to bring that into the story. I mean, that could totally be something that you want to add as a piece as you move forward. But this could be your morning warm up every time they come to class. So it does count, as Stacy was saying, you know, just for attendance. It's an easy way to know who was here and how they're feeling. This could be a check-in. The other thing I'm going to show us is just the next step. So that's kind of, in my mind, the beginning of what it looks like to start to collaborate using Google Docs with students, using the comment feature, using tables to kind of give us the structure for students to know where they need to go. But if you want to dive deeper, one of my favorite things is to use a doc and create some living notes. So I am all about these living notes. Let me just tell you, I love this. You will get this template and you can copy, can do whatever you want. Again, it's set up with columns, so we know where to put things. This middle piece here, this PowerPoint notes, that's what you put in. Because here's students, if they're trying to type while you're trying to teach, they're not listening, because our students, nobody can type and listen like that and keep on. So I would always suggest put in what you want them to hear in this. What they should be doing while they're listening and learning from you, watching your PowerPoint, is adding their own questions. What do they need clarified, right? These are their questions that they put on this side. And later they can go in and they can answer their questions. So that's how it starts. It starts with living notes, notes that they will actually refer to all the time because they're going to come back to here. They're going to already have what you want them, your main points. So they're going to focus, by you giving them main points, they're going to be able to go deeper and think of some higher level thinking questions, right? It's going to make them go a little farther because they have that right here. They have what's there. And the next step of that, and I don't have that exact example as my example, but I do have the same template. This one was the Great Depression, though. The next step was to share this with a partner and to look at, like, what were my notes? What were my partner's notes? Can I come in here? And the comments on the side are the partner helping the student, like, start to answer their questions. So this is how they're collaborating. So now I've shared this out. I'm learning from my partner. We get to share what we took away. So if he looks at my column or she, and they see, like, oh, you totally missed, like, what Hooverville was, you need to know this. If you're gonna, you can add that, they will add it. So that's a great way, a great example for students to get in there. Oops, I had one more. Da, 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 da. Oh, it's not there. It's not up in my thing. But it's a great way for them to get in. And you can notice also here that there's highlights. So this was another way that this particular teacher had her students share out these notes together, because they would swap notes with partners at a table. There were 4 students at a table and they would rotate and they would have to, like, highlight main things. She would give them roles every day, either on their own notes or someone else's notes. So this document, this notes, became something that they used pretty much every day that they were talking about this subject. So if this was a week lesson or 2 weeks, they would go to this notes and they would add to it in a different way, because there was always something else to do, some other piece. So it's not only collaborating, but it was also giving them this great resource that they would always have and they could study from. So it became where they could really interact with their material in a different way, and they could really engage in it. They could ask each other questions. She used this, I worked with another teacher who used a similar form like this when her students watched videos. She would have them watch a video and always take notes, but then they would share the notes because you see different things from the video, right? And then she would talk about the video after everybody got to, like, see, like, oh, what did you get from it? Because we all have a different way that we look at things and a different way that we're going to interpret what we're watching. So it was a great way for her to have her kids collaborate and work together, but also to learn from each other in a safe environment. And again, this was a Google Doc, same that we showed over here with our same, there we go, with our same table setup. I heard somebody chime in. Was there a question?
Yep, it's me, Becky. Can you show the difference between the share settings?
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of times, if you just want students commenting on the side, then they just need to know how to share their document as comment only.
Right. And thank you for bringing it up, because they changed the share settings, and I myself have messed up now, because now there's 2 places for you to decide what you're sharing. So you have this place here, which will be restricted or anyone, just the way that I'm set up. But then you have viewer, commenter, editor. And go ahead, Becky. You were on a roll.
No, you're good. You're hitting it spot on, where if I'm just having my students go in and comment on each other's, I would show them how to share their doc as commenter only. So that way, when someone opens it up, they're able to just add comments. They can't delete any of the students' work. It's still collaborative, but sometimes, our students take it to heart if someone messes up their work. So we just want that comment feature. But if you,
that does go back to our training our students. Perhaps that's the way we start, right? You want to train them that you can't, so we can only comment. And then as your students understand this collaborative space, because it'll be hard for them. Like in our definition, it is sharing ideas that might not be the same idea. So it's hard for students to be that vulnerable with their peers. and to expose their knowledge or lack thereof or whatever with their peers. We have to be respectful of that. So giving them like the tools to just go in there in a safe way and turn on just the comments is a great. Thank you, Becky, for reminding me, because I don't know that I would have.
It was a question in the chat. So actually, thank you, Reshma.
Thank you for all of that. Let's see. Those are our fabulous notes. Are there any questions or anything more in the docs that we want to talk about where you're like a half hour and I spoke so quickly?
No, you hit it spot on. That was the purpose, was to just get some short little quick ideas on collaboration. So there was a question, editing cannot be combined with comments. It can be. So if you give editing access, you're also saying you can edit or comment. If you give comment only, then they can't edit. So
Right.
You give full editing, they can do whatever they want.
Exactly. Edit does everything.
Mm-hmm.
And viewer does nothing. Commenter is in the middle.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the gauge. But do remember, like this double drop down is new and it can wreak havoc if you don't pay attention to both sides, because it used to do it on one.
Yeah.
So we are sold out of our t-shirts. If you got one, yay.
Aww. Karen and Becky, I did something special on our doc because I didn't have the link. And so I found, so I played with somebody brought plants to bring nature into their home. So I wanted to make sure that was a California native because we're a Southern California group. So I actually see these on the Santa Ana River all the time, the Matalija poppy, the fried egg flower.
Oh, fun.
Oh, and by the way, you guys, it's neat to see everybody that we recognize. Megan is from Orange County. She's in our Orange County queue. Woo-hoo. So, so glad you guys are here.
Our regular meeting is tomorrow.
Wednesday.
Oh,
Wednesday.
Oh yeah, it's only Monday.
The days are running into each other.
It's the beginning of the week, and I've already lost my days. It is Wednesday at 6:00. And then we have the rest of our mini series where we'll be looking at what is the purpose of collaboration. And with each mini series, we will be looking at a different Google tool. They are all a half hour, and they are just meant to give you a little bit of an idea of ways that you can start right now when you go back to school with your kids.
Yeah, we're going to try to keep the mini series short and sweet. So I hope this was good for everyone, because we know that time is of the essence right now, but we're so thankful that you all came to join us. I put the link to the slides in here so that you can look at these at a later date, because Karen gave you additional resources to use as well.
Yeah, I gave you some how to get started with Google Docs and both the templates. And do know, that's one more thing. Do I have a minute? When you go in, like you can go and create a doc from a template. So I'm going to let me do it from in here. I think I have to be in here. Ta-da. But anyway, you can look at templates, and there are templates within there that you might want to use. Just know that when you go to create a new doc, go check out the templates. And this is a great resource for your students, and it's not used enough. But you can come in here with your students and just have them use one of these. There's an MLA one, there's a brochure one, and they really help students get going and not focus so much on like, how do I do it? What's it supposed to look like? Here's your template, get to the content kind of thing. All right, I'm stopping presenting.
Awesome. If you want to find your funny elephant story again, I put a link to the collaborative story in the title there. So
good.
Yeah, that was very fun.
Yeah, thank you all.
And I love elephants, so that's why I saw one.
I love it, and no one went with it. But it was fun. Liza put that she had students write an essay this summer with Google Docs and put students in teams, and they worked together in breakout rooms to complete the graphic organizer on the docs. That is so cool. What grade do you teach, Eliza?
11th grade English.
I love that. And it kind of takes some of that pressure off of like, just go and write an essay right now, like you're doing it together. So fun.
And that's a great way also to have your students in breakout rooms when you're not in there with them, because you can still be in there with them because you're watching them on their docs too. So then you can pop into the breakout rooms, right, of the teams who might need your help, who are maybe not writing together. Is that kind of what happened? I
Yes,
see that as a
exactly.
great way to monitor. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really awesome because I noticed like who was stuck, whoever if they got started, I knew they were good, but I still went back to check. But the ones that were still in the thesis, I went back and checked. I worked with them the most because they were stuck completely. So it helps you see who needs the most help.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, is that a little dog up there?
I love it.
Oh,
I'm going to
yeah.
stop the recording. But if anyone has any questions,